Hi-ho, everyone, and welcome back to the adventures of Turwinkle, the Gnome Mage. Well, hi, Turwinkle.
Hello.
Are you all set for tonight?
Affirmative.
Well, great, because tonight we're going to be interviewing Luminar on another episode of Turwinkle Talks, a great RPer who RPs a female gnome warrior, and we're going to learn all about his RP. So, without further ado, let's hop right to it, shall we? Alright, so we have Dame Luminar Topalock, Knight Errant, Guardian of the White Sigil, Luminar, Champion of the Frozen Wastes, level 90 Gnome Warrior, and so hello, and good to finally sit down and talk with you.
Hello.
And so what we're going to do here, right off the bat, is first of all, thank you so much for coming and talking with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. So what I would like to do here is I would love to go through your MRP. So let us go ahead and do that, and we will get right to that as soon as we come back. So we're going to go through Luminar's MRP in one moment. All right, so we're back with Luminar, and am I pronouncing that corrected? Is it Luminar?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so boy, wow, I usually get those wrong, but great. Okay, so we've got your MRP opened up here, and it says your role-playing style is not set. Do you just keep that open, just on how you're feeling at the moment, or?
I think I forgot to set it when my old MRP got wiped out.
Oh, okay, and that tends to happen quite a bit. And you, so eyes green, race gnome, and you're tall for a gnome. How tall is Luminar?
She's about 3'6".
Oh, okay, so yeah, that is tall for a gnome. It says currently nasty marks going down her shoulders, semi-healed. What is that? What you've got on there is a brace on your shoulder. What happened?
She got stabbed from behind in the shoulder. She got stabbed in both shoulders, but she's obviously only wearing one pauldron, so she wasn't entirely protected.
Oh, okay. Who were you fighting?
Well, a couple of the gnomes that she's allies with were fighting a witch, and the witch brought out a former acquaintance who attacked her from behind.
Oh, gosh, okay. And so you've got a neat description here, so I'm going to go ahead and let you read your description for us.
Alright. Standing tall for her race, this gnome has a thin but athletic build, lacking much by the way of extraneous muscle or fat, more suited to running or dancing than for combat or any kind of heavy work. Despite this, she carries herself with the bearing of a soldier and stands with the practiced stance of a fighter. She has a network of tattoos up and down her arms, many of which bear obvious resemblance to known gang symbols and prison signs. Most incriminating is the scratched-out cogwheel tattoo on her right hand.
Oh, okay, so was Luminar in prison at one point?
Yes, she was.
Oh, gosh, okay. we may go more into that further down the line of the interview, because that sounds interesting, and I'd like to definitely know more, as I'm sure everyone else would as well. All right, so if we click over to the biology page, or your history page, you don't have anything here. Is this because you want people to RP with you? Or is it because your MRP got wiped out and you got to redo the whole thing?
That would be, I'd have to redo it. I usually just have like a couple little statements there so people know where they might have seen her. Just like RP hooks.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. And age 43, and your birthplace was in Dunmoreau. So she was that in Nomergon before or after the city fell?
It was outside of Nomergon.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, great. So we will come back and ask some more questions. So we'll be right. All right, and we're back. So first question we always ask is, how did you come up with the name Luminar?
It's not all that imaginative. I basically used Luminar as the name of a city in a story I wrote a long time ago, and I couldn't think of a name, so I just stole it from myself.
Okay. And do you use it on other characters, or is this the only character that you use the name Luminar on?
This is the only character that has the name.
Okay, because a lot of people, if they like a name a lot, will take it from game to game with them. And so great. And what was the story about?
It was basically just a pretty run-of-the-mill high fantasy story.
Okay, well, wonderful. And so, why did you pick a gnome to be a warrior in the game?
I originally hated gnomes, and would never have wanted to roleplay one, but I had a couple of really good friends who played gnomes, and they just sort of convinced me over time that it would be a good idea. And she originally started as a rogue, but when I moved to Wormest Court, I rerolled her as a warrior.
Oh, okay. And now, on from a roleplay stance, do you think people respect gnome warriors, or do you think they are kind of laughed at?
They're laughed at quite a bit. I can see why, too. I mean, the concept of a really small person charging you with a sword and trying to overpower you when you're twice their size is kind of funny, I guess.
Right, and I think that a lot of the insults people will throw at gnomes is like ankle biter, that sort of thing, because that's generally where we reach as far as swings are concerned from the knee down. But I have known quite a few excellent gnome warriors, and I think they'd surprise quite a few people being at the top of their game, being a warrior as a gnome. So, interesting choice. We will be right back, and we'll talk a little more about Luminar. All right, and we're back. Now, you chose a female gnome. Why did you go the female route?
I really don't have much of a reason for that. My main at the time was a male human paladin, so I guess it was just a big difference from what I was already playing.
Sure. And it's an interesting topic that has been brought up time and time again. Why people play different genders in different games. Do you find it's more of a challenge to play a female gnome to RP1 than it would be, say, if you were just a male gnome?
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, it's just writing. Like, you can write different gendered characters all the time. If you're writing a story, you usually have an entire cast of them, right?
Sure, sure. Do you think people treat you differently as a female toon than they would if you were a male toon?
Not really. Not on an RP server, at least. I'm sure on like a PvP or PvE server that sort of thing happens, but people are more reasonable here.
And do you let people know that you're a guy behind the female toon, or is that just not, you think, an issue that needs to be even discussed?
If they ask, I'll tell them. Like, I'm not gonna hide it, but it's not a big concern. I mean, some of like the best role players that play male characters are female in real life too. It works both ways.
Sure, sure. And I've known, just like you said, I've known a lot of people that do play different gendered roles versus what they are in life. And I know for some of the reasons why some of the female gamers that I know play male ones is so that they're not quote unquote harassed in the game. And and I've known the opposite, where some of the male players that I've known have used their in-game gender to receive different treatment, as it were. Guys tend to be more protective or more generous with the gold, if you would. when it comes to the female tunes. So interesting. And again, that's a whole topic we could talk on for quite a while. But we'll let it go at that. So we'll be back with some more questions for you. All right, so you are in the White Sigil Guild, which we interviewed not too long ago for their guild interview, and that should be coming up on the channel here real soon in the future. How did Luminar find her way into the White Sigil Guild?
She really joined the guild because her friend Mida was a member of the guild.
Okay, and is that a friend in real life then?
Sort of, yeah, but Luminar is a lot closer with her character than I am with their player.
Oh, okay. All right, so you're closer in the game than you are in real life. Is that?
Yep.
Okay. Well, great. And now, did you start Luminar on? I guess you did say you were on a different server, weren't you?
Yeah, I actually started Luminar on Moonguard along with a couple of those other gnomes, and then we all came over to Worm's Accord.
Okay. How long ago were you on Moonguard?
I actually don't remember the exact time I moved over, but I was on there and I think I started playing Luminar 2007 or 2008.
Oh, great. And so you came over to Wormrest Accord and Mida joined the White Sigil and you followed.
Yep.
Awesome. So RP wise, what do you find yourself doing in the White Sigil right now?
Getting injured.
Yeah. Yeah, fighting witches, sure. Now they're basically a medical group, are they not?
Yeah, they're kind of I guess you could say they're kind of like the Red Cross, but with added stuff added on top. Like they do medical work, they have a free clinic, and they hand out food and stuff like that.
Sure. And again, folks, you'll be able to see that in the White Sigil Guild interview that should be up here real soon. So your part in that then is to protect those folks as they go about doing their work. Is that correct?
Yep, she as a guardian, pretty much her job is just to make sure things don't go wrong, which they always do.
They certainly tend to do so in World of Warcraft. I have run into that myself, so certainly. All right, sir. Well, we'll be right back with some more questions. All right, and we're back. So, how is Luminar like you in real life?
She's not really. I guess we both breathe.
Okay. So you're not short. You're obviously not a female gnome. What qualities do you think she has that are like you?
I really don't know. I mean, she's a lot meaner than I am. She's a lot more talented than I am. She's a lot less lazy than me.
Okay. So those are all the ways that she's opposite of you. So is it harder to RP that then, or do you find that you just kind of roll right into it?
I think it can be harder to roleplay somebody that's a lot different than you are, but I also find it a lot more fun.
Sure. It's always, yeah, I always enjoy RPing someone that is different than I am, especially if it's like you know, I said kind of a meaner person. It's fun to be able to RP that out, especially if you've really had a bad day. If you've had a really bad day, it's fun to come into the game and just grrr at somebody. So great. So that, I guess that brings us to a little bit about you in real life, the player behind the screen. What can you tell us about you?
I'm a student studying English literature, despite everyone telling me I'll never find a job with it.
Okay, and so how long have you been playing World of Warcraft?
since vanilla. I joined about halfway through vanilla, I would say.
Oh, okay. And so what else do you like doing besides playing WoW? Obviously reading and writing. We got writing. I guess we haven't asked about reading. Are you reading anything at the moment?
Not at the moment, but I usually read, but now I'm just sort of avoiding anything for the next week until I have to go back to school and start reading everything.
Sure. Reading for schoolwork or for a living is a lot different than reading for enjoyment. That's for certain. Do you have a favorite book?
Oh, I'm a fan of George Orwell books, in particular.
Oh, okay. And what was the last one that you read?
I'm not sure. I think the last one I read was 1984.
Oh, okay. Great. Great. All right, folks. Well, we'll come back and we'll learn just a little bit more. And so hang on tight. All right, and we're back. So, when did you first start role-playing in World of Warcraft?
I started role-playing at about the end of vanilla. I'd played mostly on a PvP server, but I moved to Sentinels just with a couple alts.
Alrighty, and what was the hardest thing for you to learn when you started role-playing in the game?
Probably being sensible. Like, first couple characters you make in RP tend to be, questionable.
You mean almost godlike in a way, or?
I think I remember playing in Burning Crusade. I had a Blood Elf Death Knight who ran around Silvermoon stabbing people for no reason.
Okay. And what happened to that? What ended up happening with that character?
I deleted it and cried.
Oh, oh no. Yeah. So, do you play any other role-playing games other than World of Warcraft, like Dungeons and Dragons, Rifts, Guild Wars 2, anything like another MMO or?
I do play Dungeons and Dragons with a couple friends, and I used to play City of Heroes, but that's gone now.
Sure. Yeah, I loved City of Heroes. That was a lot of fun. So do you do the pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons, or do you do the online version?
Well, we do it over Skype.
Oh, okay. So you do the pen and paper over Skype.
Yep, and then that way you can do some RP there with just text and get more descriptive, I think.
Oh, well, great. That sounds like a lot of fun. And how long have you been doing that?
Not that long, actually, just probably 2 years or so. I actually got into it because of some of my friends in WoW who were heavy into D&D and asked me to play a couple games.
Oh, well, it sounds wonderful. And what's your character in D&D?
My last one was it was a rogue who eventually multi-classed to a sorcerer, but I make new ones every time I play.
Oh, you do. So you guys don't have like an ongoing campaign?
No, the one that we're doing now, I'm actually DMing, so I don't have a character.
Oh, great. And so how do you like DMing versus being one of the players?
I like it, but I think I make too many bad things happen to the players.
I'm certain they would agree, sir, if especially if you feel so. Well, wonderful. So do you feel that outside experience helps you in the game, RP, or vice versa? Do you think your RP in the game helps you there?
In D&D?
Yeah.
I think all of the RP I've done in the game has made it a lot easier to play a game like that.
Oh, you bet. And especially taking part of the descriptive nature of D&D, being able to experiment with things here in the game, I think makes it definitely a lot easier, both ways actually. But so fantastic, and it's always fun to find people that not only RP here, but RP in other games as well. So great. Well, folks, we'll be right back with some more questions for Luke. And we're back. So, what do you think the biggest challenge to RPing in World of Warcraft is?
Say it's definitely how static the world is. Like you can roleplay in, but nothing will visually change in the game world. It can be a kind of challenge. Same for most MMOs.
Sure, and there's always that argument, especially from the WoW community. They want Hauser playing or player housing, if I could get that straight, player housing, that sort of thing. Do you think that would make things better for RPing?
I think that would definitely help because you have a lot of like empty houses around, and there's always the issue of everyone wants to use the same spot, and you have to sort of hide off in corners and pretend the others aren't there. If you have
Sure.
other housing, you could just have the entire space to yourself and make full use of it.
You bet. And I know that in other RPs that I've had, there's a little cabin out in Winter Spring that I like to use as his cabin of solitude. But every once in a while, I would go in there and there'd be people in there. I was like, hey, it's so it kind of takes away, like you said, from that sense of RP where what are you doing in my house? But in fact, we talked about this just last night with Prika from the Servitors of Lothar as we were going through their guild base in Airy Peak in the hinterlands. And they share that big base there with some other guilds as well. And so, yeah, I think those kinds of things where if they could make it your own would really give you a sense of maybe, a sense of place within the world. So are you also thinking maybe having, like if an explosion happens, that there'd be a crater there and not just the graphic that would last for a few seconds?
Yes, stuff like that. Also stuff like the guards reacting to when something's going on. Because you have a lot of times you'll have somebody get stabbed in the middle of the street, and you'll have obviously NPC guards walk by, and it can be pretty funny seeing that happen.
Well, certainly, so, and I think, as the years go by, and maybe 20 years from now, we will be just amazed at the type of stuff that we will see in future MMOs and ways that people can get together and roleplay in games. And I think if you have been watching at all the new EverQuest Next, they're incorporating some of those ideas where the realms are destructible, a lot of things are destructible and that sort of thing. So I think those things are coming down the line, but I think as an RP community, we do pretty good taking the items that are around us and incorporating them into our RP as best we can anyway.
Yeah, I think Warmrest Court does probably the best job of that of any server I've been on.
Certainly, certainly. Alrighty, folks. Well, we'll be back with a few more questions for Luminar here in just a moment. All right. Well, they are talking about now, and we're back with Luminar, and I was already hopping right into my question, but they're talking about, these cross-realm servers and even doing more than that, kind of putting these servers together, especially these lower pop servers. How do you think that's going to affect, and how has cross-realm servers affected RP, you think, on Warmrest Accord?
Well, there have been some cases where it's been kind of cool to meet a person from another server that's RPing, but there's also been a lot of problems with that. Like, I mean, you have two really high population RP servers like Warmrest Accord and Moonguard, and they don't always meld well together, like in places like Darkshire or Elwyn or anything like that.
Sure, and again, that Moonguard has, because of its poor nature in Goldshire area, we'll just say the ERP part of that server, really affects everybody on that server. So anybody from Moonguard, I think, that comes over and you see that Moonguard tag, a lot of people are real quick to assume, oh, this is an ERPer, someone from Moonguard, yuck. And it's unfortunate because there are a lot of really solid and excellent RPers on Moonguard, but because of that stain of Goldshire there, it's hard to break away from that, especially if you're on Moonguard. So do you think this will take time to make the role-playing better on Wormrest Accord, or do you think it's just going to bring everything down as far as role-play standards between the two realms?
Well, I don't know if it's going to bring the standards down at all. I think it's just going to prompt people to stay more within like Stormwind, where the cross realm doesn't seem to work. So I know there used to be a lot of RP in some places outside Stormwind, but now because it's shared with other servers, people tend to get away from that.
Right, so do you think that there will be cliques among RPers then? Be Wormrest Accord RP and Moonguard RP separately doing their own thing? Or do you think there's a way that everybody could maybe look past the server tag and RP together?
I think it's going to be hard for something like that to happen just because there is a stigma attached with Moonguard, and even Moonguard has a stigma with Wormrest Accord being, snooty and all that. But it'd be really helpful if they could get like the MSP add-ons to work cross-server, because then you might see some RP flags and you would just go, oh look, that person's from Moonguard, I better run.
Right. Okay. Well, we will come back with some final questions for you. All right, we're back. And so what advice would you give to somebody that's wanting to start RPing in the game?
I'll tell them to make sure they put a lot of thought into their character, and also not to get discouraged, because if it's their first time, they're probably going to run into problems. There's probably going to have people telling them, they're noobs or something like that, but they just have to keep RPing. It's fun.
Sure, and it does take practice. I know for me, the hardest thing to learn was how to emote. How do you do on your emoting?
Well, I think I do alright, but then I RP with some of the Sigil and they just blow me out of the water.
Does the Sigil have a lot of those paragraph emoters?
It's not so much that they emote so much, it's that they're really good writers, so they manage to they contain a lot of description into a little small emote. It's really cool.
Sure. And so, yeah, for myself, it does take a little bit of work to come up with, like you said, expressions, and it really uses your imagination to see how you're looking and your, like I said, your facial expression and stuff like that, and not to use the same the same emote over and over again. And I think that's the thing that I struggle with is, especially when I first started, I think people thought my tune was kind of crazy because he was always laughing in the same manner, because I would use the same emote over and over. So so yeah, it helps to try to vary your emotes, and it really makes your tune come alive, don't you think?
Yeah, and that's something I kind of have to. I think Luminar crosses her arms about 300 times a day.
And another thing, I think, especially for new RPers, and let me know if you agree, spelling and punctuation, I think, really is important.
Yeah, it's something that they really need to have down, because a lot of people will be more accepting of somebody that's new if they are spelling and writing everything properly, because then it looks like, oh, this person's pretty intelligent, we can just teach them the ropes, but if they're misspelling everything, there's a higher tendency to just ignore them.
Exactly. So, folks, and Luminar agrees, especially if you're new, you don't have to type huge sentences and paragraph upon paragraph. Keep it simple, but use your punctuation, your capitalization, and your spelling. Make sure it's as good as you can make it, and that way people won't just ignore your RP. They're more, like Luminar said, willing to accept you as an RPer is if you're paying attention to those things. The speed will come the more you practice, so don't worry about being too slow, but take your time and look at what you've typed before you hit that send button.
Definitely. Just rereading it a couple times and you'll be fine.
Exactly. And I would also suggest, and I think you agree, is find a good guild. Is that not right? A good RP guild to help you, especially if you're new?
Yeah, and I think just, even if you're experienced, having an RP guild just enriches the entire experience.
You bet, because again, not only are you just going up with a bunch of random RP, but it gives you more of a story arc, and you become involved in different stories and wonderful adventures throughout the world of Azeroth. Well, great. Luminar, it has been a pleasure, and we will be right back with our final thoughts and our final discussion with you in just a moment. All right, Luminar. Well, what would you have us know about your character that we haven't discussed or talked about?
Well, she's got a pretty long history, but I guess the gist of it is it started her off as a villain. She was a bandit and now went along with one of my friends who played the other bandit, and then wound up getting redeemed, joined the Sigil, and here she is.
That's right, and we did not come back to that. You had been in prison, so they captured you, and were you in the Stormwind prison, or where were you imprisoned?
She was in the stockades for a while, and eventually she broke out, and
Oh.
that's where the prison tattoos come from.
Oh, okay. And so, are you actually still wanted then?
No, after she started working with a couple of the knights, actually you've met one or two of them, I think, she eventually got a pardon, and she's still kind of paying down some of that by having to do work for Stormwind. But she's not wanted anymore.
Oh, well, wonderful. Now, folks, let me tell you how Turwinkle met Luminar. Turwinkle was on the steps, or close to the steps of the cathedral, and Luminar made an unkind comment about Turwinkle's beard, did you not?
She stated the truth about Turwinkle's beard. That is correct.
And Turwinkle would vehemently oppose that opinion of his beard. He thinks it's wonderful. He puts the fresh fen bush berries in it daily to keep it looking shiny and has a nice luster to it. And you don't think that's very sanitary?
Well, no, but the gnomes are a democracy, so they're all free to their opinions, no matter how incorrect they are.
And so, folks, this was just a walk-up RP, and it was wonderful, and I really enjoyed it. And we have had kind of this ongoing discussion about this RP for a while now, and it's been a lot of fun. So, that's the kind of things that you can run into when you're RPing is those kind of things. So, that's what makes RPing so much fun, is you can meet those kinds of people during those kinds of events, and it just really makes the world of Azeroth come alive. And so, well, thank you for the wonderful talk tonight. We've really enjoyed it, Luminar.
It was fun.
Yeah, it really is. So, folks, if you see Luminar, say hi. Come up and talk with her and have a good time, because she is quite a fun character to RP with. So we will be right back in the Hinterlands, where Turwinkle will give his final summation of this fun-filled episode. So thank you so much, Luminar, for your time tonight.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll catch you back in the Hinterlands. All right, folks, well, we're back in the Hinterlands, and wow, what a fun interview, wasn't it, Turwinkle?
Sure.
You bet. We sure had a good time, and thank you again, Luminar, for taking the time to speak with us tonight. He was very patient and very kind to answer all our questions. So, folks, if you liked the episode, click that like button. Lets us know we're doing the right thing. If you'd like to comment on this episode or any other episodes that we've had thus far, please do so below. Let us know what we're doing right, and let us know what we're doing wrong. And finally, if you'd like to join Team Turwinkle, we'd love to have you. Hit that subscribe button tonight. All right, Turwinkle. Well, excellent job, sir. We learned quite a bit about Luminar and about that RP style. So what a wonderful night. And great questions, sir. So let's give Luminar another nice big thank you.
I am in your debt.
Yes, we certainly are. Thank you very much, Luminar. And Turwinkle, I guess we will see you next time, sir.
It's been fun.
It really has been fun. Bye-bye, Turwinkle. Bye-bye.